world is very toxic. Let's be clear about it. We have seen so much of negativity around us. We let the traffic affect us. We let situations around us affect us. But that's where it's very important to know yourself inside out. You don't need to be somebody else's best friend. You need to be your own best friend, which is perfectly right. You don't need to be a narcissist. The point is, how self-aware are you? So, we talk about emotional quotient. Emotional quotient is more important than intelligence quotient. 2 days back, there was this news. I'm sure all of you have been following the T20 World Cup, right? And Virat Kohli's daughter got a threatening message on Twitter. The police researched. They found that the gentleman was from IIT. He was working in a food app here in Bangalore. So your degrees don't determine what you are all about. Your degrees don't determine what you're all about. It's your experiences which determine what you're all about, your life stories. And you could have any life story. I'm going to talk about 3 life stories which has happened with me, by which you get an idea of what I'm talking about. But it all boils down to your life stories and how strong they are and what you learn from it. And as a leader, I'm talking to you as prospective leaders because I think all of you are leaders, all of you know more than me, so that humility is there. As a leader, if you can talk about your failures more than your strengths, then you've arrived. Okay? Look around you. If you read in the social media, how many leaders talk about their failures? You can count them in numbers. Because nobody wants to open up, right? Nobody wants to be open. Nobody wants to be honest. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. If you're open, honest and vulnerable and you're fallible or fallible, people trust you. They feel, oh my God, this guy is just like one of us. Even though he's standing on a podium right behind his desk. Right? So it all boils down to that. Now I'm going to talk to you about 3 stories. The first story is, I've lost 50 kilos in a year. And I lost all these 50 kilos just by running 15 kilometers every day and doing a plank every half an hour. Which a lot of people think is crazy. But crazy rules always, okay? If you're stubborn about something, you should make it happen. Being stubborn is a strength. Being stubborn about what you want to do in life is a strength. And I'm telling you this because, how old are all of you? 1920. Okay, I'm 43. Okay? I'm not saying because I'm older than you, I know more. I don't know more. I feel the plethora of opportunities around you are amazing. But the problem you will have in choosing the right opportunity, that's the problem you will face. Because there's a problem of plenty. That's where mentoring comes in. That's where how will you know yourself comes in. That's where your friend circle comes in. That's where your emotional intelligence comes in. That's where your element of gratitude comes in. That's where kindness comes in. That's where networking comes in. That's where collaboration comes in. That's where creation comes in. That's where connections come in. So what we need to do is we need to start moving out, talking to people around us, build effective relationships. Because with the petrol prices rising the way they are, the new oil is not oil anymore. The new oil is that data on your phone. Right? And this mic agrees. The new oil is the data on your phone. The data on your phone is the most expensive. It's priceless right now. So people are going to be using the data in the future. You will see that happening around you. And we will be moving from a phase of being emotionally quotient, intelligence quotient, to spiritual quotient. When I'm saying spiritual quotient is, there needs to be, I don't think there should be a fear of God. There needs to be a moment in your life where you realize that godliness lies within us. Are you getting me? And it all boils down to that. So when you have that godliness lies within us kind of moment in your life, you feel you're fallible. You're more open, you're more honest with yourself. Like I made a recent trip to Mount Kailash, Mansarovar, which is outside India. It's in China-occupied Tibet. All of you heard of this place? Mount Kailash, Mansarovar. It's a very beautiful place. And I'd gone there with my in-laws because they wanted to go and supposed to be the final destination for an Indian. But unfortunately it's in China and you go there and you go through Nepal and China and very bad terrain. When you reach there, so there was a 3-day trip you do around the Mount Kailash, which is 53 kilometers around the mountain, okay? And believe me, it's beautiful. There is something about the Himalayas, and it made me think, why do people go to the Himalayas? Why do people suddenly have long hair when they go to the Himalayas? Why does everybody get a beard? Why do the nails grow long? There is some kind of magnetic attraction between Himalayas, between the mountains and human beings. And it made me think, and I went there, and so me being the adventurous person that I am, and I failed miserably at that. The second day we had to go to this place called Dolama Pass, which is the highest peak in Mount Kailash. And oxygen levels are less and you walk like an infant. You're wearing 4 layers of clothing. You cannot walk and you're wearing masks. So I think 2 years back we had to wear masks. It was like a forewarning for what's happening this year. Now one of the Sherpas there had told me that, sir, if you are traveling around Mount Kailash, Mansarovar Lake at the highest point, you should count 20 to 1 whenever you see a rock. I said, what is this guy talking? I thought I knew everything, right? He's a Sherpa, what does he know about mountains? I know more than him. I've Googled and come. That's the biggest mistake I made. I started walking, there was nobody in front of me, there was nobody behind me. Okay? Not a single crow. In that terrain you don't find anything, no crows, no animals, nothing. You can only find a yeti there. It comes to kill you. And then you are like, supposedly also before you go on this trip, they make you sign a non-disclosure form which says that if anything happens to you, we won't take you back to India. You'll be buried here. And the average age group of the people who are traveling is 70 plus, okay? Who have only eaten idli, vada, sambar all their life. And what are they eating there? Thupkas, vai. Coffee is not there at all. Yak milk. Yak milk is bad. Trust me. So I start walking and I realize, so when you're walking in such a terrain, it starts snowing, it becomes hot, it becomes cold, because mountain is very close to you, right? It's like, you can actually see the clouds. Obviously you can see the clouds, you can see the mountains. And it's so beautiful, it's blessed, it's dressed like Lord Shiva. But more than the godliness part of it, it made me think, because I'm very curious by nature. And I'm alone, nobody's in front of me, nobody's behind me. And I saw a rock, I said, let me just start a rock and do 20 to 1. Let's do that count, whatever they tell us to do. I said 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 14, 15, 13, 12, 11, 10. At 10 I blacked out. Somebody came and gave me a bottle of water. I drank the water and there was a fresh lease of life in me. And there was a butterfly with me. And there was a certain sense of energy. I went down and everybody clapped for me. They thought I was dead. It's typically like a Hindi film or what. I'm writing a book about this actually. And that's when I realized that they said that in this place called Mount Kailash, nobody dies. And that surprised me. You're talking about a place which is dull and barren and there's no life vegetation. And there was a butterfly with me throughout the journey while I was going back. That hit me hard. It made me think of a lot of things about emotional intelligence, about my emotions. And when you're in a very honest place, when you're open, nature works in such a way that in nature tells you, boss, I am the showstopper here, you are nothing in front of me. Nature can tell you, right? We have seen tsunami happening, like what's happening right now in Chennai. Nature can just tell you, boss, hang in there, don't do so much of work with the climate, I am there to take care of things. So somewhere nature taught me a lesson that day. Now once that is over, we went to this place called Mansarovar Lake, where they say that this is the place where the gods take bath. The gods take bath. So supposedly in that place, you have hotels which don't have windows. I was like, why don't you have windows? No, you cannot see the gods take bath. That's the logic. So we went to this place called Mansarovar Lake and nobody wanted to come with me because you're very dull and tired and you want to go back to India as quickly as possible. I go to Mansarovar Lake and that brought me to a very interesting situation which athletes like Sachin Tendulkar, athletes like Michael Schumacher, athletes like Roger Federer or Usain Bolt face. They call this the moment of truth for them. And I faced that situation that day. So I went to Mansarovar Lake. And because I was tired, I went there and I could see aquatic life in front of me. This is at 16,000 feet on top of the mountain, there's a lake and there's aquatic life. I started crying for 20 minutes. And then I was crying because I was happy. And supposedly that is that moment where they say, this is the moment for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you feel like you've arrived. You feel like all you see is brightness around you. And this is what athletes face. Like big athletes, inventors face this situation all their life. I faced it for 20 minutes. That 20 minutes when I came back, I felt I had some halo on my head and the hair grew long. But jokes apart, I came back and then one of our Indians picked up a fight with the localite there. The localite's name was Karma. saying that boss, we make better khichdi in India, you know how to make khichdi in Tibet. She said, okay, I'll teach you a lesson. Supposedly, one golden rule, whenever you go abroad, never pick up a fight with a localite. If you don't know the language also. She picked up a fight, that localite, they said, they're very prestigious about the land. So they take a promise of the land, says, boss, I will make sure you don't travel back to India. So she was the ATC also, the air traffic controller. She used to look at the clouds and decide whether the helicopter will come or not. I don't know how she used to look at it. But one brother said, used to look at it and said, okay, fine, we can go back. So I was stuck in that place for 20 days. In this place called Simikot on the border of Nepal and Tibet. And somehow somebody tweeted Sushma Swaraj and we managed to come back to India. As soon as I came back to India, I just touched mother and said, welcome back to India. That was a great awakening for me because I realized what emotions is all about. And when you go to a place like Mansur, so if you're listening to me, I feel you're blessed. Because I'm taking to a place through my story, which is almost like the final destination. And my company was people who are 70, 75 years old, whose only objective in life is to go to a place like Mount Kailash, Mansur Lake and just live in that moment. And I realized when I spend time with them, it's about living in the moment, not living in the past and the future. And I learned that from my dog also. So my dog, I think animals have great emotional intelligence if you notice them. Animals just focus on the present. They don't focus on the past or the future. We are so competitive because of what's happening around us. We don't want to dwell in the present. And I realized that when I was working for a company called Accenture. And you get paid well and you get to travel around the world. You feel like you're catch whiskers. But then you realize, what are you working for? You're working for a presentation. You're working for a boss. I'm not saying all bosses are bad, but people leave jobs not because of the salary. People always leave jobs because of their bosses. Let's be clear. They will give you all the excuses in the world, but everybody leaves a job because of the bosses. And now, with pandemic happening, it's very important that the work culture is going to change completely. Because people have got used to working from home and they have to start working from office. What will the bosses do? How do the bosses manage? Or how do the leaders manage? So it's very important for you as leaders to understand what is emotional intelligence. Because I think this is the skill for the future. Emotional intelligence is not a scientific skill. It is something which is about empathy, it is about kindness, it is about gratitude, it's about understanding the emotions in others. It's about putting them in front of you before you put yourself in front of others. It's about listening. It's about the art of listening. The communication is not about reading, writing. Reading, writing everybody can do. It's the art of listening. Because I've done shows with people across the world. I've done shows with people like Virat Kohli. I've come on news channels where people just keep shouting, panelists and debaters. And when news is all about streaming live, right? And I've realized that it boils down to what you want to listen. You can listen to the silences also, right? So I want to ask you one question. What is more important, the journey, the destination, or the company?
Journey.
Come on. Who says journey? Okay, destination? What about the company here? All three, exactly. This should actually make you think because it depends on where you are and in what stage of life you are in. So if I ask my wife, she says she wants to go on a solo trip. But I said you cannot survive one day without me because you cannot suffer fools. I told my wife, you cannot suffer fools. You will not manage one day without me. I'll be able to manage because I'm a little more. I understand people better, I feel. And obviously my dog is there. So it all boils down to that, Travel as much as you can. And I'm saying travel inside Bangalore. Talk to people, connect with people. Try to understand what people are going through because, everybody's got a story. And if you want to be successful, for me, because I've worked in different things, I've worked in companies, I've been a radio jock, I customize sessions for kids, adults, and everyone around it. And I feel it all boils down to people judging each other. We're living in a very judgmental society. And you as kids or as young adults, you don't want to be judged. Right? Nobody wants to be judged. You just want to live your life and you want a good mentor around you. That's what emotional intelligence is all about. It's about a good mentor. In terms of opportunities, there are a plethora of opportunities around you. I can assure you that. There are enough and more things which are happening outside. But how do you choose it? What is the kind of friend circle you have? What is the kind of information you talk about? What are the kind of things you want to know about? Is there a different world out there? Because everybody is living a different life. Everybody is doing something or other. It all boils down to trust. How well do you trust the people around you? Now I've got another story here. A couple of years back, my wife delivered a baby girl. Her name was Akira. Akira in Sanskrit means graceful strength, and in Japanese also it means graceful strength. But between you and me, I wanted to name the child Akira because I'm a big fan of Akira Kurosawa. Anybody heard of Akira Kurosawa? Very popular Japanese filmmaker who made around 11 films, but all films were special. Most of the Indian films are copied from the Japanese films, by the way. So a movie called Sholay, which is a watershed moment for Indian films, was copied from Akira Kurosawa's film. Now this daughter of mine, her name was Akira. She was a preterm child. She was with us for 100 days and then she passed away. Okay? The day she passed away, she died. They put her in a cardboard box. That's when it hit me hard. That life is, and there was another family celebrating the arrival of their child. And here there was a family which was obviously mourning the loss of their only child, which is Akira. That's when it hit me hard. This is what life is all about. Life gives you some strange signals, I'm telling you. It gave me a strange signal in terms of a death of a loved one. And I deal with it differently, my wife would deal with it differently. I'm talking about it openly. Because that's the way I express my emotions. Now the day she passed away, I cried, of course, and they put her in a, they buried her because she's a small child. Next day I was doing a show with Jeffrey Archer. And I know Jeffrey Archer well because I've hosted his 2 launches earlier. And he has a strange fascination for cricket and Sachin Tendulkar. And after this, usually after these book launches with these popular authors, they have a wine and cheese party. Where people come and they kiss in the air and they talk about wine and they talk about cheese and gossip. That's all they do. That's what happens in these hi-fi parties. I was there at this party and my eyes were red. So Jeffrey Archer asked me, what happened, Shekhar? What happened? Why is your eyes red? I said, I lost my baby girl yesterday. He said, you're a brave man. I said, no, I'm not brave. I just feel my daughter's energy is around me, which is propelling me forward. That is my source of inspiration. My daughter, who's not with me physically, but mentally she's with me. People might think I'm a little crazy, but that's how I move forward. You need to decide amongst yourself, what is your source of inspiration? You need to be inspired by something in life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a political figure. It could be someone around you. It could be a situation. But inspiration has to be there. If that inspiration is not there, then there is a problem. You can be inspired by yourself too. Try to focus on being the best version of yourself every day. Don't worry about your competition. Don't worry about the person sitting next to you. Don't worry about it at all. Just focus on being the best version of yourself every single moment, every single second, every single minute. Then you see how life treats you. Life will be like a smooth ride. Right? Also, don't get enamored by what you see around you in terms of, people putting out, I know social media is there, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everybody wants to show off and put some kind of thought of the day. Don't go by that. It's all copied from somewhere. But when you meet a person, when you talk to the person, you realize what the person is. That's why I'm telling talk. Storytelling is really important here, right? When I'm saying storytelling, it's about kindness, it's about your emotions, it's about how you can connect with people. And don't take yourself too seriously. If you have realized one thing in the past 2 years is life is very unpredictable. Yeah. COVID can happen to anybody, right? Even if you get immunized, even if you wear your mask. Our loved ones have faced a problem, right? India has managed to come out of it because India as a country is very diverse, very strong, and we as Indians have the ability to come out of any situation, which a lot of other countries don't have. And I'm telling you purely this because I've traveled around the world. The perception of India has changed a lot in the last few years. Earlier you would go there and say, oh, India is a land of snake charmers and elephants. Now they have changed to, it's become a little different now. They know that what India is all about. In India, our strength is the population here. That could be a problem if you think about population, but if you can make that your strength, it's your biggest advantage. Our apps are our biggest strength. But what is very important is going to be storytelling. What is very important is going to be emotional intelligence. About the fact that how well do you know the person sitting next to you? How well do you know your country? How well do you know your audience? Because you as journalists tomorrow, right, or as psychology students tomorrow, are going to be changing the shape of the nation. Yes or no? Goosebumps? No, but you got to believe. You got to believe you're the best. You got to believe that you want to be the best version of yourself every day. Don't bother about anything else. Focus on yourself. If you can crack that emotional intelligence, it's not about intelligence quotient, okay guys? It's not about your degrees. It's never been about your degrees. Your degrees will take you to a certain place. It'll give you the foundation, no doubt around that. But what you do after that is very important. The kind of connections you create, the kind of collaborations you do, the kind of relationships you create. And relations not just to get things done, how do you continue the relationships? So, for example, I'll tell you this, in my line of work, I was working with Accenture, and I was getting work from Accenture, bringing it to India, traveling around the world. Now as a radio job, as an entertainer, as a stand-up comedian, as a panelist, as a columnist, as somebody who does sessions, it's very important for me to understand that every moment for me is a moment where I'm facing a prospective client. So I've got to be at my best every time. So for me to be at my best, I realized, let's be honest. This is the way I am. It's very tough to be simple. In the line of work, I've seen people try a lot of things to be simple, but they cannot be simple because that's not the basic nature. Right? We're living in a world which is very toxic, remember that. We're living in a world which is very toxic, we're living in a world which is very humane also. We've seen instances of that, right? During this pandemic, people have given oxygen, people have helped out strangers. That is emotional intelligence. That is the biggest skill right now. And don't let your apps control you. Also, be very curious. They say curiosity kills the cat, right? I'm sure a cat is related to that. But be very curious. Just look at the animal kingdom here. We don't need to look far away, right? Look at the animal kingdom. Do you ever see them sitting silent doing something other than watching the prey? Like they're always doing something, right? So be very curious. You need to be inquisitive about things which are happening around you. If you're quiet, somebody else will come in and take over. Don't allow that to happen. Be very curious. You should have a point of view on anything and everything. And it's okay to make mistakes. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to fail. It is okay to fail n number of times and win once. Rather than winning all the time and failing once, I'm telling you. It's okay to fail. If you haven't failed, you haven't succeeded. That's a nice anagram actually. If you haven't failed, you haven't succeeded. Think about it. And any leader who tells you, what I haven't failed is giving you a balderdash. Is giving you complete bullshit, rubbish. Everybody has failed. We all have failed. There are days when you don't want to get up, right? There are days when you don't want to just beat anyone, you just want to be yourself. Right? But then look at it like this, yeah. This moment right now, at what, 9:45? Oh, stop working. I think, time has come to when I start talking. Yeah, this moment is so precious, right? Don't let this moment pass away. Don't let this moment pass away. Make these moments count. That purely for me is emotional intelligence. It's about understanding what's happening around you. Things will happen. Life was never meant to be bed of roses. Okay? Whoever said life was meant to be bed of roses is a Hallmark card. It never happens like life is never meant to be a bed of roses. There will be good days, there will be bad days, there will be worse days. But your strength of character will come out when you handle the bad days well. Not when you handle the good days well, by the way. You are judged based on that. And as you move out of this college and you move on to companies and industries, people will value you on your emotional intelligence more than your intelligence quotient. Because what's the big deal here? There are so many colleges, right? There are so many graduates. What makes you stand out? How inclusive are you? How community driven are you? What have you done for the community? Those are the things you need to look at. How effective are your storytelling skills? If your storytelling skills are good, trust me, if your storytelling skills are good, I'm telling this once again because I feel this is the most important skill. Storytelling skills are good, you will survive anywhere. You will ace it anywhere. Look at all the storytellers around the world. Why do you listen to storytellers? Why do you listen to some stand-up comedians? Why do you listen to some, like an Elon Musk? His ideas are outrageous. But he's always meant to be outrageous, right? Right? Why do you want to listen to a Ratan Tata, for example? He's so compassionate, right? Or why do you want to listen to a Narayan Murthy? I've done shows with Narayan Murthy and Sudha Murthy. I've never seen simpler people than them. They have all the money in the world. They have all the awards in the world, right? And they have everything you can think of. But simplicity is the biggest virtue, which a lot of other startups don't have. I've worked with a lot of startups also in Bangalore. Somebody at the age of 30, 35, becomes an entrepreneur, they earn lots of money, it goes to their head. Humility is extremely important also. Because I believe the steps you take to move up the ladder are the same steps you will take to come down the ladder. Because I've experienced it, I've seen it happening around me, I've seen it happening with me, with death, with the Mount Kailash, with the Fact or Fit story. Even in my case, when I lost 50 kilos, I was a chef's nightmare. If I would go to a hotel, my wife would say, or my parents would say, Shekhar, can you just eat something? I said, no, I want this without salt. I had avoided salt for 1 year. Okay, I'll give you a tip. If you want to get a six-pack, avoid salt for a year. It's not safe though. Avoid everything white. I was very stubborn about not eating anything in a packet. Anything in a packet I would avoid it because I was like, no, this is not healthy. I was being stubborn and I achieved what I needed to achieve. But it's always a moving target. That's why I'm saying it's not the journey, not the destination, it's the company you have which is important. That's where emotional intelligence comes in. And respect people around you. Respect. We may have all the information, all the knowledge in the world, but the person in front of you might know more than you. They might have an interesting story to tell you. Respect. Because if you don't respect, you will not gain respect. Right? And I feel, India as a country is limitless. I did my schooling and college from Delhi. I'm basically a Malayali, but I look like a well-fed Punjabi. And I've been in Bangalore for the last 20 years. Okay? And I think this is a beautiful place. Bangalore is so cosmopolitan. Trust me, we've got people from different cultures, different languages. It's beautiful. Practically everybody's smiling. When you are in Delhi, nobody smiles. I don't know, everybody wants to be a Virat Kohli. From the driver to the plane, everybody's angry. I don't know, what are they angry about? It's an outcome of the climate you are in, I guess. I don't know the place. But I've noticed that. But when you come to a place like Bangalore, I think the climate is so good, though I feel it's a little dull in the last 2 days. Some people find it romantic, but I feel it's a little too dull. We want to get work going. It's not easy going through Kichad also. What I'm saying is, India is limitless. India is one of the few countries in the world, the only country in the world which has such a vibrant democracy. Forget the politicians, they don't really matter. Okay. Their job is to just make us fight. Okay. But we are an inclusive country. We have land of so many races, so many demographies, so much of food and languages. I don't think it happens anywhere else. We are such an exotic country. Right? We are such an exotic country. There's so much happening for us. There are plethora of opportunities happening around. There's so much of news for you. There's so many stories waiting to be told. Did you see the recent Padma Shri Awards which happened? Okay, obviously Kangana Ranaut got an award and Karan Johar got an award and who's the other lady? Ekta Kapoor, yes, Ekta Kapoor got an award. There was a lady who was a transparent who got an award. Right? That was so heartwarming. You saw the way she came in and blessed the president. And the president handled it very well, I felt. He gave her time and allowed her to do. Like that's so, there are a lot of people who will focus and say, oh my god, this award is bought, rigged. Fine. But look at the fact that we managed to appeal to so many sections of society. It's never happened in the world, by the way. Like I've been to Australia, I've been to France, I've been to US. There is so much of racism which happens there. They don't talk about it because it's not cool. India is also very racist. That's a different thing. We make fun of different cultures. We make fun of different languages. If you're North Indian, you make fun of South Indians. South Indians also make fun of North Indians. It's there, right? So that's what makes us special, I believe. And I think, like I said earlier, it all boils down to working very closely, creating, collaborating, working very closely with people around you, and having a lot of respect, and leave that ego aside. You look at any yogi around you, look at any learned man, they talk about leaving ego, but they don't have a family. No? 3 dates mein Fungsuk Wangadu, Amir Khan is giving gyan to everybody, right? Did Amir Khan have a family? It's nice to give lectures to all of us, right? These are real issues. Family hai, you have to go back to your family, you have to pay your loans, right? You do what you have to do. My point is you can still manage all that if you're truly self-aware. Very important, be self-aware instead of being relevant. Relevance will come automatically. Yeah. We are living in a world where all the apps want to make you relevant. Oh my god, you missed the story today. How could you miss this reel? Or how could you miss this dance, whatever they do on Instagram? I'm just saying, it's important to be self-aware more than being relevant. If you're self-aware, you will have everything happening the way it has to happen on you. If you want to succeed, once again, it's your storytelling skills, it's your emotional intelligence, it's about your emotions which you can control. It's the power of the subconscious mind. Your mind is very strong, by the way. Mind is very strong. We can do so many things with our mind, which others can't do. We don't even know the power of our mind. Our mind is capable of so much. It can make you lose weight, in my case. It can make you overcome a personal story of death. It can make you overcome any obstacle where people make fun of you and say, my god, you left a job, a 9-to-5 routine to do this, to become a radio job. Yeah, because this is what I like doing, this is what I love doing. I go home and sleep with a smile every day. I do that. I told my classmates, I'm going to be speaking today at this college. They were jealous. तुझे कैसे chance मिला? It's your ability which counts, right? It's your ability, it's what you do, it's your honesty, the confidence. I know that today if I fail, I can get up and come back again. That confidence do you have in you? That you are open and honest and vulnerable and say, you know what, I'll fail today, but I will succeed tomorrow.